Our top focus in Gravitas. A leaked Pentagon report has directly challenged and contradicted U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated claims that Iran's nuclear facilities were completely obliterated by American strikes under Operation Midnight Hammer. Rather, the intelligence assessment claims that the strikes have only set Iran's nuclear program back by just a few months. The report has kicked off a lot of controversy, with Trump, his administration, the White House and Israel pushing back against it. At the ongoing NATO summit, Trump said Iran was not able to move any nuclear material because they were hit hard, adding that none of Iran's uranium is missing. Trump has also said that U.S. will engage in talks with Iran next week.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may settle an agreement. To me, I don't think it's unnecessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought, now they go back to the world. I don't care about it. You worry about that.
Now, the report released by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is Pentagon's intelligence arm, is based on a battle damage assessment conducted by the U.S. Central Command after the U.S. strikes on Iran. The report further states that despite the U.S. dropping over a dozen bombs, including bunker buster bombs on Iran's 3 main nuclear sites, the centrifuges and highly enriched uranium at the sites are largely intact. The Pentagon report also says that the strikes sealed off entrances to some facilities, but they did not destroy the key underground nuclear facilities. The DIA assessment reportedly estimates that Iran's nuclear program has been delayed by less than 6 months. So, in a nutshell, it means that Tehran retains the material needed to potentially resume its nuclear program with minimal delay. And yesterday, the head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization said that Iran had taken what it called necessary measures to ensure that the nuclear program continues, further stating that contingency plans are already in place to restart the nuclear facilities in Iran. And regarding the leaked Pentagon document, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt did not deny its existence, but criticized the leak, labeling the intelligence as flat out wrong, adding that the document was leaked despite being classified as top secret. Now, at the NATO summit, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth dismissed the leaked report's credibility, describing it as initial. And just a few hours earlier, the White House shared a statement from Israel's Atomic Energy Commission claiming that Iran's underground Fordo nuclear site is now, and I'm quoting here, inoperable. Further adding that, according to its assessment, the American and Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites have set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons, and I'm quoting again, by many years. In a series of posts on social media, Israeli Prime Minister's office also released the same statements. While Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai also said that Iran's nuclear sites were damaged in U.S. and Israeli strikes. Take a listen.
Yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
Now, during the NATO summit, Trump said that the U.S. and Iran, in his words, were getting along very well, and rather, he wanted to see Iran get back in shape.
I think we'll end up having somewhat of a relationship with Iran. I see it. Look, I've had a relationship over the last 4 days. They agreed to the ceasefire. And it was a very equal agreement. They both said, that's enough. They both said it. And we're actually getting along with them very well right now.
Trump also said that Israel was severely hit by Iran's ballistic missiles.
Israel got hit very hard, especially the last couple of days. Israel was hit really hard. Those ballistic missiles, boy, they took out a lot of buildings.
And yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the Israeli military campaign against Iran as a historic and generational victory, further asserting that Iran's nuclear threat had been neutralized. But today, Israel's own military cast doubts on that certainty, with the IDF stating that it is still early to assess the damage caused to Iran's nuclear sites.
It is still early to assess the results of the operation. We are investigating and examining the results of our strikes on the entire system. This puzzle, as I called it in the past, the various components of the nuclear program, and more.
So what was touted as a crushing blow to Iran's nuclear capabilities by both Trump and Netanyahu is now under serious scrutiny, not by Iran or any of its adversaries, but by institutions within their own respective countries. Our next story is from Russia. It's seeing a surprising tourist boom arrivals from Saudi Arabia. It has surged 570% in just 1 year. Over 52,000 in 2024 from around 9,000 in 2023, which actually means Arab tourists prefer visiting Russia more than the West. The big reason? It has to do with a streamlined e-visa system launched in August 2023, perhaps making it easier than ever for Saudis to travel without embassy visits or any kind of paperwork. According to Gulf News, direct flights from Riyadh and Jeddah are also helping funneling visitors straight into Russian cities like Moscow, St. Petersburg and Sochi. In the first half of this year alone, nearly 10,000 Saudi tourists have already visited Russia. That's up 50% over the same period last year. A Russian tourism official says that Saudi travelers are a promising market for the summer season. As a result, younger travelers who want other options to traditional European spots are visiting Russia, drawn to its cooler weather, culture and natural beauty. And they are spending big as well. Promotional efforts by Russian tourism agencies across Gulf travel expos have also increased. Russia has now granted more e-visas to Saudi citizens than any country except China. And tour operators are even creating Arabic language experiences, cultural tours and curated experiences designed for the Saudi market. Since 2023, that's a year after the Ukraine war broke out, Russia has made efforts to market itself as an enticing destination for travelers from West Asia. Moscow has often described West Asia as a pivotal partner in its flourishing tourism sector, and so it has taken a dedicated approach to attract more tourists to strengthen local and global businesses. Earlier this year, in February, Moscow also expanded tourism opportunities for Kuwaiti visitors. And according to Gulf News, in the first 9 months of 2024, approximately 13,900 travelers from Kuwait visited Moscow, which is reportedly a 10-fold increase. That's compared to the same period in 2019. What's more, 98% of these arrivals were for tourism, which goes on to prove Moscow's growing appeal among the Kuwaiti visitors. Then in April, the Moscow City Tourism Committee announced that the Moscow Tea Time in Dubai initiative, bringing Russia's tea drinking heritage to the UAE for the very first time. Now, Russia's push to attract Gulf tourists comes at a time when it remains isolated from much of the West amid the Ukraine war. And that's due to sweeping economic sanctions imposed on Russia by West. As a result, we have seen Russia actively pivot east and south as well. And as of now, it's not just about tourism. It's a strategic move aimed at deepening its ties with countries in West Asia and build new economic as well as diplomatic bridges. So while Western visitors have largely stayed away, Gulf travelers are helping fill the gap, bringing with them not just footfall, but a new kind of political signal. In a sanctioned world, tourism too is now geopolitical. Zoran Mamdani, he is the latest sensation in American politics. His claim to fame is bagging a victory in the New York City mayoral primary, defeating his opponent Andrew Cuomo, a historic feat that can very well set him on the path to becoming New York's first Muslim mayor. But who is Mamdani and what is his story? 33-year-old Mamdani is a left-wing contestant from the Democratic Party who became a popular choice over much-favoured Cuomo, who conceded after Mamdani built a substantial lead over him. And it was a crushing defeat in every sense of the term. Mamdani, who is younger and comes with much less experience compared to Cuomo, scripted history by clearing the prelims and getting 43.5% of the vote as against Cuomo's 36.4%, thanks to what Cuomo himself called a smart and great campaign. If elected, he will be the first Muslim and Indian American to lead the nation's largest city and perhaps also the youngest to do so.
Tonight, we made history. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. My friends, we have done it. I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor of New York City.
But that's really half the story. The other half is tied to his Indian lineage. Zoran Mamdani happens to be the son of acclaimed Indian director Meera Nair and notable scholar Mahmood Mamdani. So what worked in his favor? Overall, an energetic campaign built around affordability and cost of living, an issue that concerns every other American citizen. Voters have also liked his right choice of words and striking charisma, many saying that Zoran speaks the people's language and represents a New Yorker in the truest sense. Well, all eyes are now on the 4th November mayoral election in New York, and if Mamdani, the man of the moment, can secure a permanent place for himself in American politics. In a show of unity amid emerging global uncertainty, leaders of NATO's all 32 member states have now agreed to spend 5% of the GDP by 2035. At the end of a two-day summit in The Hague, the alliance also came up with a joint declaration announcing agreements on several key issues. Most notably, US President Donald Trump has sided firmly with the alliance, a visible patch after the differences earlier.
A very historic milestone this week. The NATO allies committed to dramatically increase their defense spending to that 5% of GDP, something that no one really thought possible. And they said, "You did it, sir, you did it." Well, I don't know if I did it, but I think I did. This will be known as the Hague Defense Commitment, which is pretty good, pretty appropriate.
US President Donald Trump, who once questioned the value of NATO, took a victory lap at the summit, hailing the defense spending pledge as a major foreign policy win. "It's a great victory for everybody," that's what Trump said, adding that the increase would help equalize contributions among members. All the member states have agreed to spend 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. That will be 3% higher than the current 2%, a move that the US President Donald Trump has been pressing for since his first term. Trump had earlier threatened to move away from the alliance on this very issue. Now, the declaration is seen as an effort to keep the US close to NATO. Mark Rutte has pulled out all the stops to keep Trump on side for what could have been a tricky summit.
Fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
NATO allies also asserted their ironclad commitment to Article 5. It's the foundational pledge of the transatlantic alliance that says an attack on one NATO member is an attack on all NATO members. US President also clarified his position on Article 5. Take a listen.
Mr. President, you said you would clarify your stance on Article 5 just yesterday. Is that something you can explain
I stand
today?
with it. That's why I'm here. If I didn't stand with it, I wouldn't be here.
So you would defend countries even
Well, what
if they
did I
don't pay
just
out their
say?
fair
Yes,
share?
of course. Why would I be here?
The NATO joint declaration also identified Russia as a long-term threat to the security of Europe and the broader transatlantic region. Crucially, the declaration also reaffirmed NATO's commitments to Ukraine, stating that Kiev's security contributes to the alliance's own security. For the first time, defense support to Ukraine and its industry will be included in NATO defense spending metrics. And well, U.S. President Donald Trump's address at the NATO summit revolved around two key agenda points. Number one, his success at pushing Europe for increasing defense spending to 5%. And second, America's path forward with Iran. Will Denslow reports from The Hague.
And at the end of this summit, we have heard directly from the US president, where he praised himself strongly for this increase in defense spending, saying it is absolutely imperative that NATO's allies come out from under the US umbrella when it comes to collective security. This is, he says, something that he's been pushing for a long time. He says he is disappointed by Spain being one of the holdouts on increasing spending, hoping that they will reaffirm their commitments to hit this 5% target by 2035 that has been laid out in this communique. A big part of Donald Trump's press that he gave behind me here at the NATO summit in The Hague was on Iran. President Trump reiterating his message that he thinks that recent US strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities obliterated them. He says that Iran will no longer be in the nuclear game going forward, and he says he's confident that a ceasefire between Israel and Iran will hold. He says that he hopes to have conversations directly with Tehran in the coming days.